right, well, loggers are logging, but I wanted to show you something the boys and I have been working on. Yep, we built an outhouse. We built a proper outhouse. Now we are missing a hole right there in the door so sunlight can come in, but let me show you what it looks like, show you the details. So yes, that is a paw trap on this side, and then we got one on this side. And this side, the chain actually gets hooked on a nail inside to keep it closed. I disabled them so there was no way for somebody to set it, and then when somebody went to go to the bathroom, they would get their hand caught in it. I did that on purpose because I have two boys who think it'd be incredibly hysterical to set these and they'll let somebody get their hand trapped in it. Even though I think that might end up with a broken finger, I'm not sure if my boys would understand that until it happened. So I got ahead of the game. All right, once we get in here, inside is not charred. We have our 5-gallon bucket that you go to the bathroom in, and then you put some wood shavings. I got a coffee can I meant to put in here yesterday. Put some wood shavings on top. We got the old dinner bell holding the teepee. I felt like it was just appropriate for the dinner bell to also hold the toilet paper. I know, it's a little sick of me, but what can I say? And overall, I think it's quite a stunning outhouse. Everything there was milled from our land, and I like it. I think it looks nice. Just figured I'd share it with you guys. All right, I'm gonna get back to you guys. Once they're done, we're gonna go down, we're gonna talk about opportunities, the opportunity we have with logging, also some insane opportunities that came up just because we were connected with the people around us. And I find that it's not always the case in the country. Welcome to Simple Life. We are back down where the logging is being done, and I figured I'd show you. This is almost exactly where we stood last week, and you can see the area's changed pretty drastically. There's a lot of logs that have been taken out of here, quite a few loads, and we are up against the property line over there, and then it goes up, and that's where the big equipment is, right back there. And that big dust storm that is going to approach us is Clint driving down the hill. So this is a crazy opportunity that we have here, and I talked about that last week, kind of like a once in a lifetime. But it's not the only opportunity we've had, and there was actually, I'm seeing a pattern. Let me explain the pattern I'm seeing. When we moved to the country, we had no farming experience. About 6 years ago, we had no experience on tractors. Christine was the gardener. She's actually has an amazing green thumb, and she's always been amazing at growing vegetables and all kinds of goodies. Other than having a few goats and a couple chickens in the suburbs, we didn't have really any experience on a farm. And so what did I do is I went out and I started fixing the farm up. I started repairing fences. We started with some more goats and then pigs, then meat birds, and just kept going. And we took every opportunity we could to get experience and try to find our way through this farming experience. Where do we fit in an ecosystem? Where do we fit in a small production type farm situation? That was really important to us because the whole time, in the back of my mind, I was trying to figure out where we were going to fit if I wanted to farm full time. This is building on last week's conversation. So about 3-4 years ago, one of our neighbors has goats, and I happened to stop by and say, "Hey, do you have a buck? I need a buck. I'd really like to have a buck that was different than the bucks that we had." So my wife and I developed a relationship with this woman down the road. Well, she ended up having an accident, and my wife helped her. Well, it turned out she sold her place, and when she sold her place, she no longer needed the lease that she had to feed her animals because she was moving 5 hours away. So she told me, "Hey, this property that I'm leasing, if you want the lease, it's a really good lease, and it's bottomland, nothing fancy about the grass, kind of just cow feed grass, nothing crazy. But it's 40 acres. So this last summer, we cut all the feed for our cows off that land. Matter of fact, there was so much left over that the guy that did it for me was able to take enough, I believe, to cover the cost of doing my hay because, well, haylage. The haylage is what we've been using to build up organic matter in some of our gardens, as well as what we're going to feed all the way through winter. So that opportunity right there was just crazy, because when do you get a 40-acre lease that's right down the road from you at a screaming deal? Not very often. It's kind of one of those things that, like, if you're in the right place at the right time, it happens. I'm going to harvest some cucumbers, and let's talk about the greenhouses and how the greenhouses have something to do with the cow feed. So, as I mentioned, I had friended a neighbor, and they'd got me the lease for the property that we're going to cut all our cow feed off of. Well, I was there one day, and I was just kind of catching up with the folks that own it, and I mentioned to them that I would be by to make sure that the place was mowed, because that was part of the deal, is I would mow it and take care of the property. And we were having conversation, and he said, well, while we're talking about cleaning up, you know, we have these greenhouses here and we want them gone. Is there anyone that you know that would possibly want these greenhouses? And I thought to myself, yes, I know somebody that would want those greenhouses. And I told him, I said, yes, I'll take them. Absolutely, I'll take them and clean them up for you. And he was grateful, and I don't think they really thought I was going to come by and clean them up. And I have been working a lot of nights after work, going by and cleaning these up. And these aren't small greenhouses. They're big. They're 30, this is 20, and they're 120 feet long. This is about 96 feet long. And so we are talking about much larger than this. Not only that, they came with all the fans, all the electrical, a lot of automated stuff that I would have never even purchased because, well, it was out of my price range, to be honest. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even purchase this nice of a greenhouse. These greenhouses are absolutely beautiful. So going forward, I'm going to end up having a few more greenhouses. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go. I do have an idea that will probably grow a lot more tomatoes because, well, tomatoes grow really good in greenhouses. And here we have a pretty mild climate. And so because we have a pretty mild climate, there's no reason not to start them early and end them late. That being said, it was an amazing opportunity that wouldn't have come our way except for the fact that I had went and had a conversation with a neighbor about buying a buck. And then my wife had friended her and had helped her out when she needed some help. They say the average farm has 200 different varieties of bees on it. Isn't that crazy? And we don't even know most of them. I mean, we just classify them as like mason bees, honey bees, and carpenter bees, or maybe bumblebees. Ah, it's amazing. There's so much out there that we don't know anything about. This is another example of an opportunity that we seized. Yes, these are all wood chips. Now, these wood chips that you see here, these all come to us free. These are a byproduct of Asplin coming through our area and doing a lot of work along the roads. So we end up having a pile about the same size as this down at our place. And this thing's huge. I mean, this is legitimately huge. I mean, as we design and work out where we're putting our beds, what those beds look like, this is going to be something that is going to fill that. And if I leave this here long enough, it will compost. So generally, I don't think this gets as hot as compost, but let's put a thermostat in and see what we're hitting because, to be honest, it's getting pretty warm in there. And, well, here you go. We're going to hit 140, so this is actually cooking off really good in there. I thought it needed a little bit more moisture, but maybe the moisture to oxygen to carbon ratio is just perfect, and it's just cranking along just fine. This explains why some of this is starting to break down and starting to look like mulch that you would buy. Now, obviously, some of this stuff I just mixed in. It's not going to be the same way, but a lot of this, you can see it's starting to break down really, really nicely. And one of the secrets to getting it to break down really nicely is bark. I don't remember where I was reading this. I think it came from a soil book about soil health. I don't understand all of it. All I know is that bark has an incredibly high spore count when it comes to funguses. Fungi? Fungi. Having bark inside a wood chip pile or a compost pile is really, really good for it because it's going to bring a lot of new fungi to the party. Now, you're asking, how did you get to the point where Aspen would just bring everything to you? Every time I see a crew working in our area, I stop, I give them my address, I tell them, hey, anything you want to drop off, as much as you want, we'll take it all. And you know what? Slowly over the last 3 years, they all know. So even though there's different crews that come through, they all know where to drop them. We have an easy place for them to drop it, and they know it's reliable. They don't have to look at a list, find a new place. They know we're that one place right down the road. And so they come, they drop it, and we end up having the bounty of wood chips that we can add if we want to our compost, or we can just put down to cover up an area so that way the soil is covered and the weeds aren't taking off in that area. One awkward conversation 3 years ago has changed a whole lot for me. And it's one of the reasons why the video last week came out and why I started talking about it, because I'm having one opportunity after another. And each of these little opportunities is adding up to me seeing a much bigger opportunity to grow a lot more, to be able to extend my season farther into the next year, as well as potentially to have a much bigger business than I thought I was going to have. Because, I just didn't have the vision, but somebody else did. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us on A Simple Life today, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good one.